folks, welcome to the video, and today is a very interesting video. We're going to be looking at this watch. This is a $10 George watch from Walmart, and I've been wanting to do this for maybe 6 to 8 months, maybe even 9 months. So I have a friend, he is super frugal, and he bought this watch a while ago. He was like, man, I just needed a watch. And I remember we were out a couple times and I saw him wear that and I was like, man, that watch looks really good. And so I wanted to check it out, and honestly, I don't think I've seen a better watch for $10 or less anywhere. Number one, and these are not in order of importance, but this watch is widely available. It's at a major retailer, so it's not like some cheap watch where it's like, if you go here, they're sold out, but you can do this and do that. No, you can pretty much go to any Walmart and get this watch or a variation of it. So this is a George watch. I don't even know if it has a model number. It just says easy read dial. And like I said, it's $10, or it was under $10. I think it was $9.98, $9.88, something like that. And then number two is that it tells time well. So this is a quartz movement watch. So it's going to tell time very well. And if you're not familiar with the movements of watches and how they work, like automatic watches and mechanical watches are not as accurate as quartz watches. They're just more intricate. You want a watch that tells time, and it tells time accurately. Because otherwise, there's no reason to have a watch. You can just use your phone, and you can still do that with a watch anyway. And the third thing is that it is water resistant. Most people are going to want their watch to be somewhat water resistant. Just if you get caught in rain, you sweat, you're washing your hands, it splashes. So you want some splash proofing at least. And then looks. So this watch looks pretty classy to me. Like I said, I typically wear this Apple Watch Ultra, which is on. And I have this one, and I have the stainless steel one that I did a video on, and I primarily wear those. This watch is pretty much blacked out. So like I said, I showed you the front. There it is again. I love that it doesn't have George on the front. I think that would be kind of tacky. Here's the back of the watch. Hopefully the camera focuses. And then here's the overall look of the watch. And I think it looks really good, honestly. I'll go ahead and put it on wrist, but it is a little small for my wrist, and it's going to be a little small for most men's wrist or people with, medium to larger wrists. But it looks clean, and it looks like you're a minimalist at worst. So I like that. It looks good. Somebody may joke, are you wearing your sister's watch? But what helps this watch is that it's all black. So not only does that go with a lot of things, but it doesn't look, feminine. For me as a male, I don't want my watch to look feminine because it's blacked out. I would say a business casual look, but then it looks like it has some utility. It's not a Timex Expedition watch, which is the next watch I'm going to be doing a review on. Those are a very good value, but it gets the job done. And so I'm going to take it off and show you some other features that I like about the watch. So I remember when I was a kid, there used to be cheap watches, and they weren't quartz and they weren't water resistant. The front glass would fall off of them, all sorts of things, but that is not this watch. And so I do have some history with it because, my friend, he's a journalist, so he's not like banging the watches around or anything like that, but he wears it a lot. Like we went on a men's retreat, he had it. And so I know that like the front glass isn't falling off and the band isn't falling off, that kind of thing. So I had a reasonable expectation of value when purchasing this watch. One thing that you don't really think about with these watches, but I do, because when I was a kid, you could buy cheap watches. The problem is the second hand would tick in the wrong place, which isn't really a big deal, but as the wearer of the watch, I would notice. So on this particular watch, it actually lines up with the second-hand marker. So that's also a clean look. And I love the fact that it doesn't say George on this watch, because I think that would be pretty tacky. Excuse me, the air conditioner just came on, so it might be a little loud, but I love that. I love how this glass, I don't know what it's made of, but it doesn't feel super cheap. It doesn't flex when I push it in. So that's a dope touch. I love the white numbers. So it's very, very easy to read. So if you're talking to somebody and they're like, hey, what time is it? You don't have to guess. It has the actual numbers. They're in white. They're very, very visible. So if you're struggling telling time on an analog watch, this is a great starter watch. And then it also has like military time in red letters. So if somebody wants to know the time in military time, say for instance it's 4 o'clock in the afternoon, that's 1600 hours, but you can look at this watch and get that. So to me, honestly, it has a bit of a tactical look to it, and I like that. The back is stainless steel, so that is a nice touch to me too. I love that. Obviously it's not going to be a clear case back, but I also love that it has this metallic trim around the watch bezel, and then also here on the buckle. And I will say my buddy has had his watch for about a year and a half, and I just observed that his is not chipping in here. So that metal around the bezel, the metal at the buckle is not chipping and flaking like you see in some cheap watches. Now, obviously, you're not gonna, if you go dirt biking or you're doing extreme sports, you're gonna tear this watch up. It's not gonna survive like a fall, off of like a four-wheeler if you flip that, stuff like that. So have reasonable expectations, but probably wouldn't swim with it. But if you happen to be floating the river and you fall in, it's not the end of the world. It's a $10 watch. And if it does last, it's a $10 watch, and it lasted. So it's just really about optics a lot of times. Like, here's the two watches on my wrist, and obviously they're different looks, but again, this is not a bad look. I highly recommend this watch. Like for $10, again, this is a good starter watch. Like, it tells time. If you're going to be outside painting and doing things where you're banging your wrist around and stuff like that, definitely just buy a cheap digital watch. I've made a couple videos on non-G-Shock watches that you can buy that will last. You can bang them up and they work very well. But this, I believe, is a very good business casual watch, and you can't go wrong. So it's not flashy enough to where people are going to ask you what kind of watch is that regularly. It's not going to stand out there, but it's going to be nice enough to where people are like, oh, okay, I like that look, and that's kind of what you want. You don't want a watch that's going to be an imitation of another watch, so then you have to have that awkward conversation, well, it's fake and it's this, and maybe you don't care about that, but I feel like this watch presents well, and it checks all the boxes that you want. It looks good, it's water resistant, it tells time very well, and I guess that's the last thing that I'll harp on. Thank you all for watching. I'll see you in the next video.